Now, I think one of the greatest things right now about what's going on with Lucasfilm is that we have John and Dave gaining all these different privileges at the company, as well as George Lucas. That's going to go into full effect by 2024. We talked about this before in the past, that there are plans being initiated by Bob Iger to make Lucas the head of the story group to really organize the roadmap, lead the roadmap of the Star Wars universe, and what's going to come before or after specific Star Wars shows. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that there are a lot of great things coming out of The Mandalorian so far, I think that Chapter 18 was brilliant. If you guys have not checked it out, go ahead and do so, because it dives more into Mandalore, Bo-Katan, the mythology of the Mandalorians, and it really kind of goes more into the Darksaber a bit. I'll leave it at that. But there's a lot of great things that are coming out of John and Dave's work apart from The Mandalorian, and how they are basically allowing George Lucas to be heavily involved with a lot of their upcoming projects. I don't know if you guys knew this, but FAVREAU did unveil that it was George's idea to bring the Darksaber into The Mandalorian Season 2. That was all George Lucas. That was all him. And John allowed it to happen. So overall, moving past beyond this point, what's even all the more intriguing is exactly what's going on with George Lucas right now, and specifically what he recently did over at the company that actually is bringing it into some form of regulation to kind of bring Star Wars onto a better road or path, whatever have you. Now, with that being said and all, we do have a couple of things to explain, alright? So, we know that George Lucas is very involved with a lot of upcoming projects. With many new Star Wars projects currently in the works, creator George Lucas has been slowly taking over Lucasfilm that will go into full effect by 2024. However, in the meantime, given that Lucas has now, of course, gained privileges over at the company, with Lucasfilm currently holding over 2,000 employees, many of which are associated with the creative field of the franchise, Lucas has been shifting around the company and making big-time changes by calling the shots to actually lay off some of the employees and crew for an upcoming Star Wars show of his that will be called Underworld, that was initially being run by Kathleen Kennedy. One of Kennedy's attempts was to create her own version of Lucas's original planned first Star Wars show back in 2007. This, of course, has now been worked on by John and Dave, along with George being the showrunner of the show. He recently not only fired some Lucasfilm crew and employees from the series Underworld, but also from Lucasfilm altogether. So let me just stop here for 1 second. Now, to put things more simple, Kathleen Kennedy was basically trying to reinvent or really kind of remake George Lucas's long-cancelled series back in 2007 of it being her own thing. That eventually fell apart. Lucas picked it up again along with John and Dave, and here we are. So basically, Lucas is dropping a lot of Lucasfilm employees and crew members from not just that project specifically, but from the company in general. We know that they are cleaning up house over at Lucasfilm. There's been a big sweep happening that's going to take over the course of the next 2 years that has been approved by Bob Iger. Now, Bob Iger is doing this as a form of desperation because he knows that he's on the hot seat. He knows that the board members are looking down on him right now. Based on the big problem with the Ant-Man movie, Quantumania, failing at the box office, lately Bob Iger has been in a big shakeup with the Disney board members. It's not looking good for him right now. So, basically he's doing whatever he can to allow Lucasfilm to thrive and survive, and just continue on with putting out quality-driven Star Wars projects. So, that brings us to where we stand today. What George Lucas recently did for the company specifically. Now, a lot of this has to do with the visual artist field, and exactly how they were turning, certain aspects of Underworld to be more in line with Kathleen Kennedy's vision. Now, with that being said, given that he dropped a lot of employees from the project and from Lucasfilm altogether, this kind of puts you into a more comfortable situation. Really kind of having more respect and more, I guess you could say confidence in George, John, and Dave really taking control and moving things ahead properly. Now, that brings us to the next piece. Alright, so this, however, wasn't just done by George, but that he had to actually get the okay from Disney CEO Bob Iger to approve his request, in which he did. Part of George's plan, along with Bob Iger, is to clean house over at Lucasfilm by firing and replacing many employees and crew in order to make better Star Wars shows and movies for the future of the franchise to tell more quality-driven projects. Now, this process is said to take 2 whole years, and they will be sweeping each department slowly for the next 2 years to create a better version of Lucasfilm with more passionate crew and employees in the field. The next phase of this sweep is set to start again in May for a more significant level. Recently, Lucasfilm got rid of many visual artists and is in the process of replacing them with new ones to take better control and care of future projects. Now, the other thing that I do want to tap into here real quick is that we also know that everything related to The Mandalorian is that Jon Favreau did and was able to confirm that he wants to see this go past a season 5. And that's speaking a lot because, let's face it, Jon Favreau already has season 4 pretty much written. He's just making some revisions to the script as we speak. So a 5th season is obviously in the cards, but to go beyond the season 5 is big. The fact that they really want to bring things, moving ahead every single year or every single 2 years just goes to show you how expansive their vision really is, how far they're really thinking ahead. And we already know that John and Dave, they have projects all lined up until 2030. That's a given. That's easily what they have in store. So there's a lot of things to look forward to. I think that with each project, in my opinion, by John and Dave only getting better and better, it's going to show you exactly what kind of path they're going on. I think that Mando Season 3, Chapter 18 was a massive improvement to Chapter 17. I think it was a very well written project, or episode I should say, and it's only going to get better in my opinion. So, with that being put out there, the fact that George has all these new privileges over at Lucasfilm and how that's going to play a massive role in really kind of course correcting the franchise, and how this is being led and approved by Bob Iger. This is obviously Bob Iger's attempt to really kind of just put his own footprint in Star Wars and to kind of leave behind some kind of legacy for the fans and to really kind of fix his career as a CEO, right? We know that he does not intend to stay as long as we intended or believed in before. He wants to get out by 2024, but until then, he wants to put out quality-driven projects by George, John, and Dave. So, anyways, I'm very much intrigued to hear what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, everything related to George, doing what he did over at Lucasfilm, and how a lot of this will be done throughout this year and next. So guys, fill me in below in the comments what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.